Happy Saturday. Hello. Getting started. La no hey nombre. Fiesta. You love FTL? I also love FTL. Welcome in. How's it going, y'all? Yesta. I'm gonna call you that if that's okay. We're making kind of an isometric 3D version of FTL. That's got like multiple decks layered. So we've been building this kind of auto tiler and tile editor tool that lets us do that kind of stuff. It will let us build like multiple decks as part of one ship and navigate between them. Hey, Ryson, how's it going? Happy Saturday. You get that dishwasher installed? No need to try to pronounce it. Okay. Thank you. I'm terrible at that sort of thing. But yeah, this is the kind of, so you'd make like imagine this is like the top of the ship and then you'd make a deck underneath it. Something like this. Actually, I want to erase this floor here. We made a little room here. You can tell because it's brightly colored, so it can tell that it's like compartmentalized like an FTL. You keep going down, make some more. Like really rudimentary. We're still kind of just getting started with this kind of tech. But we're addressing a bunch of issues like visibility, being able to see where your mouse is. Still have to work on that. But we could keep going. Keep going down and down and down. That hole there. Yeah, there we go. So we're working on this kind of tech. You're waiting on her to buy it. Oh, okay. And like bring it home. This is like pretty rough. But this is the kind of stuff that we're working towards, being able to render multiple floors of a ship and you can navigate around it. I need some new blocks. Right now there's just very simple block shapes. We can put doors now, which is a relatively recent development, which is pretty great. Do single and double doors, depending on whatever we want. This is just a tool to help me build the ships. I'm noticing a couple things I need to work on. We have some visibility issues because of the isometric perspective where we have to like cut material away so you can see into the ship. This is our first attempt at doing it. I'm reasonably happy with it. That's kind of not what we're focused on today. Today is kind of a chillin', kind of philosophical kind of day. I kind of want to just think about design stuff. Because we're kind of in this in-between space where we're like, is the game going to be turn-based? We've been thinking it was. We've thought the other way before. We've been kind of mulling back and forth about turn-based, real-time. If it's turn-based, what kind of turn-based? Is it like a timeline system? Is like everyone move at once? If it's real-time, it's obviously pausable real-time, like FTL. And what would that mean? So we're kind of I just want to do like kind of a design analysis of kind of our influences today. Just FTL into the breach. By subset games. This is even more slanted than cavalier projection. Is that how you call it? Might leave too little space for stuff on the ground. We'll see. I think it's mostly okay if I can create enough visibility. It's a dimetric projection. I don't know which dimetric projection it would be, but it's like 4:1. So it's like, I don't know what the official name for that would be, but it's like, if isometric is this, you know, it's 2 pixels over and then 1 pixel up, 2 pixels over. So 2:1 for isometric. We're doing 4:1. So the camera's like down, the camera's like lowered. It's much more of a side-on view. And part of the reason I'm doing that is because of the characters. Like I'm not a great artist, so I'm drawing the characters at like a very side-on perspective. They're really simple little characters. And I kind of need them to be side-on. So you can see here like the chairs and the characters are all very side-on. And then there's a slight perspective to the environment with the 4:1 kind of dimetric perspective. We definitely need to get some more stuff in there to see what the real consequences of it are. The main issue we've addressed is that visibility issue I was talking about, of just being able to carve material away. But yeah, I'm interested to see what it ends up like. I think it's okay. I think it's like reasonably okay. Because you can pretty much, this is where the cursor is. You can pretty much carve enough material away that you can see wherever you want. This is our initial version, initial quote unquote. This is our most recent version of the cutaway system to handle visibility issues. I'm sure we'll have some more iterations of it. I want to cut away as much of the ship as is needed so that you can see what's going on, but I want to leave as much of it as possible. Because there will be cool stuff happening. There will be like gun turrets rotating, or like engines firing, lights blinking, ordnance exploding on the edge of the ship. You know, different things will be happening outside the ship. I don't want to cut it all away like Sims style. So I don't know. It's definitely going to be a delicate balance to get this exactly the way we want it. Making it so you can see into the next room. Pretty much wherever your cursor is, you should be able to see. Like whether you can see much else, kind of the question. These ship areas are pretty small too. These are just like 15 by 15 floors. 15 by 15 grids, and there's 5 floors. I think I'll eventually support 16 by 16. Maybe. Got some empty space here. I might even open this up and you have to like pan the camera around to see everything. Not sure. Not sure how big we want these ships to be eventually. This is like the maximum buildable area, and it doesn't really feel big enough. But we're going to talk about this, why we're limited currently to this area. Yeah, this room looked good. Maybe it's the walls that are too wide. The walls are pretty thick. But the reason why the walls are thick is because I need them to block for the compartmentalization system, which can tell whether a room is exposed to outer space or not. Like this changed color because now it's considered part of the exterior hull because it's exposed. And if we seal it up with like a door, with like a door, can I place a door here? There we go. Oh, it was just the cutaway system being weird. And now it's back to being sealed. So it's like, that's for like sealing purposes that the doors are so wide or the walls are so wide. But yeah, it's tough. because with isometric, one tile only ever blocks the one tile behind it. So like if we have a block here and we add another block, we're really only blocking the tile behind it. Like not a huge visibility issue. It's a bit of a but this one is a huge visibility issue because each block can block up to 3 tiles behind it. Like much more of a visibility issue. So yeah, we'll see what we do about that. Maybe we introduce some more transparency, or we change the cutaway formula. We'll get there. What I kind of want to think about right now, and that's kind of the purpose of today's stream, is just to like look at kind of what we're doing from a zoomed out perspective of like, are we more? Here's the way I see it. Here's how I'm starting to think about it, which is that what we promise, not least of which because I call this an FTL-like, but like the promise of this game is FTL, faster than light. Like we promise the same thing that FTL promises, which is like you can be in command of a spaceship. You have a crew, you have a ship, you're in command. Like you tell the crew where they go, they man different systems, you fight other ships nearby in a very abstracted sense. So like in FTL, there isn't like flying around. It's like more of these strategic matchups, kind of like here, you know, these sorts of things. It's a little more positional than this because here there's basically your ship and then the enemy ship, and there's no positional relation between them. Like there's no way to tell whether this ship, the enemy ship, is in front of you, behind you, your left, to your right. I want to add a little bit of positionality into this game. So grab this file. Wish it had stayed in the recent file. That would have made it easier. Ship scale mockup. So like this is our ship scale block. It's a 15 by 15 by 5. Right now, this is the maximum buildable area that we have. And so we also have like zoomed out version of the exterior tile pieces. So here's currently we're only using these two. By these two, I mean this one. We're just using a cube. Well, one of the next things we're going to do is implement sloped shapes so that we can start defining silhouettes and like start actually making ships that look like ships. And then we'll start adding components like engines and weapons and stuff like that. But right now I just want to get the hull pieces right. So we're going to do this next, but we also have is these zoomed out versions, which are half scale. So we've got half scale versions. I can't do quarter scale. I thought about maybe trying to do quarter scale, but the perspective breaks down at quarter scale. The dimetric becomes isometric, and it's not great. It'd be hard to manage. But we can at least do a half scale pretty comfortably. So we're going to have a half scale zoom out view. And the reason we're going to do that is so that when you're zoomed in and you're moving your ship around, it's something like this. So we have room for UI, ideally. And you can move crew around the ship. And then when you are fighting another ship, it'll be something like this, where it'll be the zoomed out version of your ship and the ship next to you. And it might be this arrangement, or it might be like the opposite. So it could be this, or it could be like this, depending on whether the ship is in front of you or next to you or side to side or behind you or whatever. So we'll have a little bit more positionality. That's my intent. To have it be like, oh, we need to turn the ship and bring this weapon to bear, or to, hide the side of the ship whose engines are down. It's like, oh, the port engine or the port shields are down. Rotate the ship so that the port shields are hidden, or like so that the port side is hidden and shielded. Stuff like that. That's kind of some stuff I want to try. a little bit more positionality, but still pretty abstract. So we're still in the spirit of FTL. Like you're not flying the ship around. Not like Cosmoteer or any other incredibly amazing games like Cosmoteer, which I don't think there are any. That's kind of what I want to do. So I'm kind of thinking about the differences between FTL, which is the game that we promise, because I mean I'm already calling this an FTL-like. This is the promise of the game. I don't know if we're gonna have different aliens. I'm having a hard enough time just drawing people, but we'll see about that part. So that's what we promise versus what we present. Ryson, so wouldn't the ships trend toward being the maximum buildable volume? So by endgame, they'd all just be big Borg ships. That is why, Ryson, I think we're going to need to ditch the maximum build volume or like double it or something. Not just for that, not just to like avoid the Borg system thing, but also just to acknowledge that like a good ship design is not all interior pieces. Like we need room for engine components. We need room for like wings. Like we need room for aesthetic features that don't do anything except like improve the silhouette. Like the mantis wings and the Kestrel engines and stuff. So yeah, we need to, so I might have like a mixed build volume limitation. Like maybe what I'm thinking is that maybe this area is like the area that can be open. Like this is the area that can be, you know, interior compartments. And then you double the limit for everything else. So like you can have wings that jut out and you can have like aesthetic features or engines that stick out from the back. So the engines don't need to take up this core space. And this core space is just like the livable area of the ship. Or we get rid of all limits altogether and you just have to pan the camera around when you get to a big enough ship. You just need to pan the camera around to be able to see what's going on. We might do it. We might do that instead. I don't know. That would affect our ability to do this zoom out thing that I want to do. If the ship is so big that it significantly exceeds this area, it's going to be really hard to show two ships at the same time, which I would like to do. But I don't know. Maybe it's worth not doing that. We're going to have to figure that out. We'll have to try some stuff. But I'm okay leaving the limitation for now because, you know, our initial ship, the starter ship will be small or whatever, right? So like it's fine if we start working on these smaller areas because we're going to need a starter ship and you'll want the starter ship to be small so as not to overwhelm the player. And then maybe we get to some endgame ships later that violate some of these rules. Kind of open-ended as far as what we do there. To you, if I were selling you on the idea of an FTL, like the most important elements would be something like an RPG, upgrades to your character ship with emergent gameplay elements. By emergent gameplay elements, you mean stuff like fire, oxygen, bullets hitting drones, system energy, and damage. Yeah, this kind of stuff. Like, you can upgrade the different systems of your ship. You can equip different weapons, drones, augmentations. You can get different crew members. Again, I'm not totally sure if we can do like the alien crew member thing, in which case we would need to distinguish our characters differently. Like we could do like a Star Trek style, like you have gold shirts and red shirts and blue shirts or whatever, and maybe they have different affinities. Like a blue shirt would be best in like a sensors room or like a medical room, and like a gold shirt would be in engineering or weapons, and a red shirt would be like on the bridge or fighting enemies that are trying to board your ship. Yeah, we need to fulfill all of those promises. Let's write some of those down. because that was a good list, I think. Ryson, maybe the second ship at a distance at a smaller scale, since you were having half scale. Yeah. We'll have to figure out how we can manage all of that. So you're thinking of like RPG elements. RPG upgrades. Upgrades. Skills for ship. Ship and crew. Emergent elements like oxygen, fire, etc. Ship systems and crew. Yeah, I think that's important stuff to keep in mind. You didn't mean I'd have to have the same stuff on your game, but you need to provide interaction between systems we implement. Since you were talking about positionality in the tile-based system, you have a great base for some new ways of interacting, like being able to break tiles from the ship or something like that. Yeah, yeah. No, this is fine, because what I'm writing down here are the promises of what FTL, like these are the things that FTL offers. I'm going to also write frantic, pausable, real. Is that not how you write pausable? Pausable, not a word. Pausable, real-time gameplay. Yeah, I think we have some other opportunities for that. Part of why we have this compartmentalization system, Yesta, is so we can do stuff like have oxygen and fire being modeled. Because like you've got a room here and we carve it out. And right now it's just an empty pit. But as soon as we put a ceiling on it, we have a flood fill algorithm that can tell that it's an interior room. And right now we just change the color of the room so we can tell. But this way you can do things like there's oxygen in this room. But what happens if someone blasts a hole in the side of the room? Now you've got like an explosive decompression and the oxygen gets sucked out of the room, along with maybe some things that fit through the hole. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe just the oxygen gets sucked out of the room, along with any fire. So yeah, we've got a block-based system. So we're simulating each individual block of this room. And we can do things like that, like propagate fire through the room, oxygen, whatever else might work out. I want to have power. I want to have the power lines actually be physically in the ship. So if like the power conduit between system and the power core gets like severed, someone needs to actually go through and like operate on like the wall or the floor or whatever where the power cable runs in where it got severed. I want to do a lot of stuff like that. This is the thing that is really haunting me lately, is this frantic, pausable real-time nature of FTL. Like, that to me is really important. And we can get into it in as far as... So this is what we promise. That this game is going to be like FTL. Going to have these things, upgrades, skills for ship systems and crew. Emergent elements like oxygen, fire, stuff like that. You clicked for the sweet pixel art. Thank you, Marandal. Welcome in. I'll give you a hit. Give you a hit of sweet pixel art. Never played FTL? FTL is like FTL Faster Than Light is like this ship game, spaceship game. It's kind of like Star Trek style. You like command a ship and the little crew members in it, and you battle other ships in kind of an abstract environment. You manage like your weapon systems, other ancillary systems like drones, sensors, doors, teleportation. You can do boarding actions. I think boarding actions are going to be really cool for us. We're just trying to add a bit more positionality with like our isometric 3D kind of deal. You can immediately see how fun that can be, all the customization. Yeah, you can basically pick like what weapons you want on your ship and what rooms. Like that ship we were just looking at had an invisibility system, so it can turn, it has a cloaking system. Some ships will have drones or cloaking or like hacking. They can like hack enemy systems. The teleportation's pretty cool. You can board enemy ships. This is a classic game from 2012. It's a big inspiration to us. So we're just kind of thinking about some design stuff today. We're taking a break from all of the programming and stuff that we're normally doing and kind of just thinking about the direction we're taking this game. Yeah, you go on to like a typical roguelike grid-based adventure where you're like picking systems to jump to. Great game. Classic game. 95% positive. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. Turning that into a nicer isometric style game could be nice. Yeah, that's what we're hoping for. I think that'd be nice. I know we're going for a very low res isometric. Like we're really putting the pixel in pixel art here because our little characters are like, I've only messed with them a little bit, but they're like 6 pixels wide and like 12 or 14 pixels tall or something like that. They're little guys. They're just these little guys. So in a way, we need to acknowledge that these are just little guys, and they're going to need to be like kind of, I wouldn't say expendable, but I think we're going to make them a bit more expendable than like FTL crew members. I think that's kind of a direction we want to go. We're never going to have like this many crew. This was just like an art piece. This is like a huge crew. There's like over a dozen people in this room. Hey, Scotty Flops. Yo, philosophy time. Yeah, for pixel art, you're in love with that low pixel art. Star Trek expendable. Yeah. Yeah, we're all red shirts all the time. Yeah, so we're comparing like what we're promising, which is FTL. Here's kind of a thing that we can bounce around. The ships, you know, some of the story elements, like you'll run into scenarios and you decide how to deal with them. Upgrading the ship, managing the power levels, the weapons. We'll need multiple ships, obviously. But this is the promise of the game. The thing that I'm in conflict with is the presentation. The presentation is into the breach because we're doing isometric. We were trying to follow the tenets of this kind of a system, of this kind of a game, which is like you want everything to be visible on screen at all times. Looks super complex to make. Yeah, this is going to be a multi-year project. Marindal, we're going to be working on this. We've already been working on it about a year, but we've only been working on tools. Ryson, are those crew members in scale with the doors you've been using? Yes. Yes, they are. The doors are about 30 pixels wide. At least like the, you know, one face of the door, the front face. So yeah, the crew members and the doors and everything are all to scale. I had some prototypes where I had them running around the rooms with pathfinding and stuff. But this is kind of more what our game looks like at the moment. And I think this has maybe been like leading me astray, this difference. You probably haven't seen this, Marindal, but what we've been mostly working on is like tools development. So we're working on how to like build these out. So right now we have like an auto tiler that's handling all of the tile map stuff for us. This is all 2D. It appears a little 3D, but it's all 2D, sort of pseudo isometric stuff. And so we can build this series of rooms out. And this is like our 3D ship. There's like 5 floors. We can peer into it. And this is the bare bones version of my shipbuilding tool. It needs a lot of work. But we could start demarcating rooms. We only have a few blocks in our palette right now, but we have a bunch more we want to add. We can put some doors in. We can put some exterior doors, put some interior doors. Oh, this is interesting. The interior doors are considered exterior blocks in some cases, but not all cases. Oh, well, there's a bug for me to figure out. Not today, though. Today is not about bugs. Today is not about programming. Today is about chilling and thinking about design. That's sick. Thank you. We've been working on it a while. I like this version of the cutaway version because you can instantly see what floor you're on based on the number of floors above you. So you can look at this and know that I'm on the, the third floor down or whatever, because there's 3 ceilings above me. Like here we know we're on the first floor, second floor, third floor. Our floors count down from 1 because this is traditional Star Trek arrangements, which is that the top deck is the bridge, which I think will strictly enforce that you have to put the bridge on the top deck and then you count down from there. Like Star Trek style of doing it. We have some rudimentary visibility stuff for like being able to peer inside the rooms. You're going to be able to rotate this. The last version of the tile editor had a rotation in, so we could spin the whole arrangement around. So you wouldn't have to like necessarily go all the way in if you were like, I want to look at the opposite side of the ship. Instead, you can just turn the ship around, which is actually a strong argument for having bigger ships, because the combination of the visibility cutaway system and being able to turn the camera around means we could have some pretty big ships and you would have a pretty decent idea where you were at any time. I have to think more about that because this is so small. But the reason I did this, the reason I made this such a small area was this very strong design element that's actually in both FTL and Into the Breach. Marandal seeing the other floors, that's a real quality of life thing. Yeah, it's tough. And it's crucial. And it's crucial because the common wisdom, right, is that like you should, in a perfect world, you would be able to see everything going on at all times, right? Like here you can see your whole ship. You can see that there's like a fight in the weapons bay. There's some enemies. Other enemies trying to get their way into the weapons bay. There's some enemies fighting in oxygen. This person is actually probably about to explode. This is like a really bad scene for them. Maybe this is a friendly. This is actually probably a friendly character about to execute this dude. Still a bad scene. And same thing in Into the Breach. You can see everything. Into the Breach is a puzzle game, to be fair. It's not really like a traditional turn-based tactics game. It's more of like a puzzle game in my mind. But it's still kind of the way we present ourselves. And so I've been thinking, because in our game you can't see everything all at once, maybe we want it to be turn-based. Because then turn-based games is pretty good because you won't be surprised. You're not like constantly pausing to be like, okay, where is everybody? You won't miss something because, you unpaused the game and weren't watching the correct floor and like something bad happened on another floor. But I'm kind of torn about that because I like FTL's frantic real-time nature. Like the energy of FTL is really good because it's real time. Even though it's pausable real time, so you can pause at any moment and take stock of the situation. It's still a lot. So our presentation is, so we present ourselves almost as an Into the Breach, specifically. So there's a conflict between like what we promise and like kind of what we present, and I kind of want to address that. Marndal, turn-based so you can take a look at everything going on. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, you can achieve that with pausable real time. But the thing is, what happens with people playing pausable real time is they like unpause, pause again, unpause, pause again. And they're like constantly flicking it. And like as little things happen, and then they wait till the perfect time, and then they pause it, and then they do everything, and then they unpause it, and then they wait until the next thing happens, and then they pause it again. And so like it feels like it ends up being a turn-based game, like a simultaneous turn-based game. Ryson, events could cut away and highlight the rooms they are in when they happen. That is something like what I was thinking of maybe doing. Like maybe instead we could do something like, so I'm kind of looking for a solution to that. I'm kind of thinking of a way to resolve that. So like in FTL, you have like a little crew roster. Maybe there would be a way if it was real time. Maybe you could do a thing where like when, let's say you ordered a crew member to like repair a system or something like that. And like you can kind of see if the system is repaired because you could see progress on like the engine thing. Like, is anyone repairing a system in any of these? No, all the systems are on fire. Here, the orange. No, no one's doing anything about that. Oh, well, here you can see progress as someone's beating a system down. So you can see when like the system is being destroyed. But maybe we could have like a little thing that pops up next to their name or something like that. And it's like, finish the repairs, Captain. I mean, maybe it's not the full line of text, but it could be just like an icon or something. And like you can click them, you can double click them and it would take your camera to where they are or something like that. Like maybe there are ways of improving navigation where it would be okay that it's real time, because the only alternative is to do turn-based. And there's something, I've been playing a bunch of turn-based games recently, and there's something I kind of hate about turn-based games. And let's see if I can demonstrate it. See if I can find an example. XCOM maybe? No, not XCOM. Invisible Ink maybe? I need a game that has a turn timeline. Where's a game that has a turn timeline? This is not going to be gameplay. This is just like cinematics. Do they even have a timeline in this game? No, they don't. This game was great. Rogue Trader, maybe. Look up Rogue Trader. That's like a recent one. Is there actual gameplay in this? Or is this all fluff? It's probably all just Warhammer fluff. Oh, here we go. So there's like a turn timer here. Or not a timer, a turn timeline. And this is what I don't like about these kinds of games is these animations. Like you basically make your turn and then you wait for a bunch of people's animations to go through. God, why don't people make like traditional just gameplay trailers anymore? Why are they all story? I mean, I guess Warhammer is going to be a story trailer because that's what people are here for. Damn it. You have pictures at least of people actually playing this game. So like your guy goes, you got to wait for an animation to play. And then if it's not your turn next, if it's like an enemy's turn, you got to like watch them move around and take a shot. And then you got to, the camera jumps to someone else and you watch them move around and take a shot. And then the camera jumps to someone else and you watch them move around and take a shot. And then maybe it's your turn again. So like, that's a timeline turn-based system. That's how that works, is like it's one person's turn at a time and they do their turn and then someone else does their turn. This timeline on the left here. So like, yeah, so like you do your turn and then you have 3 enemies that all take a turn before it's your turn again. And then an enemy takes a turn and then you take a bunch of turns in a row, but then it's the enemy's turn. I don't love timeline systems. And I think people use timeline systems because it is less hard to think about than like Into the Breach. Because in Into the Breach, you set all of your turns and then all of your turns play out in a specific order. And then all of the enemy takes all of their turns and those all play out in a specific order. So that's like a we go system where like we all go and then you all go. Does XCOM have a timeline? I don't know. I don't know if XCOM has a timeline. I haven't played a lot of XCOM. Are you gonna have gameplay? No. Maybe? No. God. Are you gonna have gameplay? No. Nobody makes gameplay trailers anymore at the like AAA level, I guess. There's not a single screenshot of like an actual moment of the game being played. Kind of insane. I should probably be going to like a let's play and not like a game trailer. Yeah, that's kind of annoying that we can't see this. So yeah, I don't know if XCOM has a timeline or not. It's impossible to say. I was born in 1911. Here we go. Here's some gameplay. At least they were making gameplay trailers back in 2012. Triple A ones anyway. You go to Let's Plays. Yeah, I just don't want to jump around YouTube, but I probably should just be doing that instead. But yeah, are we gonna actually see the interface? I don't feel like XCOM has... Okay, talking heads. Regret. Here we go. Here's the interface. I think it's we go, or yeah, we go, then they go. So I think we do all of our turns and then they do, but maybe that's not true. It doesn't show a timeline. I really don't like this kind of tactics game though. The one where there's just so many abilities and on these huge, enormous maps. But it would probably be worth studying them because we're also going to potentially have a huge, enormous map depending on how far we limit the ship sizes. Oh well. So there's like a promise to like these turn-based games or presentation to these turn-based games, which I think we need, which I think has been like leading me astray. Like Into the Breach is like what are the kinds of things that Into the Breach presents? Zero output randomness. So like there's no output randomness in Into the Breach. Everything that occurs occurs. Like everything that occurs is definitely going to occur. Like there's no question. Like you know exactly what enemy intent is, which I think is really cool and something that would be easier to do in a turn-based game. I'm gonna put display enemy intent. Displays enemy intent. There's no output randomness. They display enemy intent. There's also like perfect information. Well, I guess that's all the same thing. I shouldn't write that like 3 times. Bryson, what is the universe traversal system going to be? Probably like FTL, probably or you know, Slay the Spire or whatever. It'll probably be a typical like web, like a node web of like you can jump to this system or you can jump to this system. You'll probably have missions that tell you like you need to go jump to this system and do this thing. But you might also just encounter random things as you're like traveling because maybe the place you're going to is like multiple jumps away. So it'll probably be like an FTL like node jumping system. I'm gonna write puzzle like solutions. So we promise FTL style gameplay, but we end up so currently what we present is like an Into the Breach style kind of isometric thing. And I think this has been causing me to think about this incorrectly because I've been like really all in on turn-based for the last like few weeks or month or two even. I've been like, how do we do this turn-based? I want to do this turn-based. There's some other reasons to like not do it turn-based, which would be like we have a whole entity component system, which is like high performance and it is designed to be able to like run through the whole simulation every few frames. And I feel like using that for a turn-based game is kind of like it's just going to be spinning its tires all the time. And we'll be waiting for animations to finish out 90% of the time. We'll just be like executing a turn, waiting for the animation to play, then execute another turn, then waiting for the animation to play. Or at least if it's real time, pausable real time, the whole thing is happening all the time. And yeah, you can pause it and interrupt and then unpause. And you can like queue up commands when you're paused. Hey, Theron Keen. How's it going? This is your reference sheet. Kinda, I made this morning just before going live. We're kind of comparing what we promise versus what we present, which is how I'm phrasing it, which is like we're promising an FTL style game, but currently we're presenting like more of an Into the Breach style game. And we're kind of dealing with the conflict between those two things. Because like Into the Breach is more of like a puzzle like turn-based game with no randomness or in like perfect information. And Into the Breach is more of like this emergent, frantic, real-time RPG kind of thing. And I think I've been letting our presentation maybe overly determine what we were trying to do. Like I think I've been seeing our isometric kind of game board and thinking like, okay, what do we do to be like correctly like Into the Breach like? And I think that's misguided. I think we need to double down on our FTL like promise and maybe go back to trying to do something real time. Maybe think about our game in real time terms. I don't know. We're kind of having a chill weekend design discussion. I say chill, but I'm like kind of agitated. Marindal, great. Now you want to make an FTL game? I'd say more people should. I had somebody comment on one of my YouTube videos. They were like, if I had a nickel for every time I saw an FTL-like game on here, I'd have 2 nickels. So I think there's plenty of room. What am I using here? This is Obsidian. This is a canvas board on Obsidian. I really like Obsidian canvas boards. You can kind of do all sorts of stuff. Like you can do flowcharts. Like this is an early system architecture flowchart I made. You can define like little arrows. You can like grab your arrows and do whatever you want with them. Connect them to different things. It's pretty cool. You can do colors. You can do all sorts of stuff with this system. Where's the thing that I wanted? Oh, these are all being added here. Okay, I need to like make a screenshot folder. Steam screenshots. I need to get these out of my... I didn't realize that that's how this worked. Those in there, that in there. You can kind of add whatever you want to this thing. You can add pictures. You can add you can even add, you can do something really cool here. Watch this. You can add a web page. So let me just grab the Godot docs page. And now I just have an entire web page embedded in here. And it's navigable. I can like actually interact with the web page. Kind of incredible what you can do with Obsidian. Cool for me because I'm not really a person who draws very much. So if I want to diagram stuff out, I want to be using like boxes and text and pre-existing images and stuff. Is it free? Yeah, no, it's totally free. There's some stuff you can pay for, like you can pay for like a sync feature or whatever, but like I don't know why you would. It's not very good for collaboration, is my understanding. Like if you were doing collaboration, you'd probably end up using like Notion. But I just put mine in a Google Drive and like great. Hey, it's all backed up in the cloud. I have it on every computer that I work on. You're using Miro? Yeah, Miro is cool. I think Miro is cool for like especially like mood board kind of stuff if you need to collaborate. My partner saw your cow animation. They like it a lot. They it makes them think of this game. While the Iron's Hot. Made them think of the pixel art from this game. Does no one have pixel art posted for this game? This little, there's like a cow character in this game that is adorable. A hell of a lot better than using Discord for project management. Oof. Yeah, this is a fun, like, cute little game. It reminded me of your art style a little bit. I mean, they're outlined, but like, yeah, there's an adorable little cow in here. See if I can find it. Oh, it showed it for like half a second. Yeah, these little guys. They're way bigger than yours, but it's still it's still the vibe we got. Little characters. It's a cool little game. Marindal, what kind of stuff are you working on? You sound like a game dev. What kind of stuff do you do? You did that for your first game attempt, aka Discord project management. It wasn't, my god, it was a mistake. Yeah. Literally would be better to use paper and pen and just send photos back and forth. Yeah, or even just like Google Drive. Like, you think you're probably not using that art now though? That's fair. I think you made that would be hard to keep up for all of your characters. That was high res. We were talking about how low res our art is. All right, so here's the promise versus what we present. I want to add another box that's like real time. I want like pausable real time. I want to move on to the next stage of this discussion, which is like pausable. Pausable is not a word apparently. Pausable real time. I'm gonna say turn-based puzzle gameplay. I want to move on, which is pausable real time versus turn-based. I guess I should actually probably have these be the same note instead of separate cards, but whatever. Turn-based, like I go, like we go, or I go, you go. Those are kind of the two options: is we go or I go, you go. Oh shit, we're getting botted here. Bryson, load the torpedo tubes. All right, load them again. All right. That's taken care of. Your programmer pixel art was too ungood. You found some player sprites that are 8-way sprite sheets of a 3D model. Oh, nice, like Dead Cell style. You're gonna buy a cow model and pose in Blender, do the same thing. Yeah, I think that's a good choice. Then you get the 3D art and you can set up the sprites however you want. It gives you an opportunity to like make them your own. We just had to blast a couple of bots there, Ryson. Good job. We got them. It's here in the middle. All right, let's do like a pros and cons of the two. Pros. Cons. Pros. Cons. Yesta, you think I accidentally banned you from Twitch? I don't think I did. I banned 2 people who were sending spam bot messages about best viewers. All right. Are you Blastoise Pro? All right, I'll unban you. I could have sworn, did you link something? Is that why? Because like the next person immediately also linked something. All right, I moved the ban on you. My bad. Ryson, you could have each ship's timeline be independent from the other. Maybe. One of the ways you could upgrade your ship could be how fast your turns take to complete. And that way you could still have the frantic feeling. By making the player feel like they have to keep actions queued up. Maybe. Oh yeah, you're not about your bot. Your user account created in 2017. Messages. Oh, my bad. My bad, Blastoise. You immediately were like, I'm Yesta from YouTube. And I just banned you. My bad. Oops. Well, I fixed it. All right, so the pros in my mind of possible real time is the all actions are resolved. All events are resolved, are processed simultaneously. I actually like that. That might also be a con. Hello, I'd like to talk to you about your car's extended warranty. Yeah, that'll get you. Another good thing is accessibility, or ability to pause improves, adds accessibility. I don't know, improves maybe. Improves accessibility. Being pausable improves accessibility. If anyone thinks of any of these, anything that you feel is good about pausable real time or turn based, either a we go or an I go, you go. I'll take a second to stretch here. So some pros about turn-based is like the game, no time pressure, basically. No time pressure. Actually, I guess we should say this. We should say events are processed sequentially. I don't know if that's a pro. I guess that's just these aren't really pros and cons. These are like features. Features. We can say features of a pausable. Let's not get bogged down on whether something is good or not. Let's reserve judgment. Let's just describe features. Features of a turn-based tactics game. Blastoise Pro, there you are. I think turn-based is very hard to implement for a game like this. An idea would be to make the period covered by a turn dynamic to allow for long downtime or frantic action. That requires the system to determine when you are allowed to interact. Something like Yomi Hustle. I haven't heard of Yomi Hustle. Yomi Hustle. Your only move is hustle. Someone was just showing me this game. This game is incredible. Fullbox was telling me about this game the other day. This is amazing. This like timeline fight sequence stuff. Pausable real time also has no time pressure, but allows for more complex simulation and interaction at any time. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, Blastoise. Because we have our simulation layer is like an ND component system. So we can process a lot of things very quickly over just a handful of frames. So there's no, and if anything, it would actually be, from my standpoint, harder or more awkward to like manage turn-based mechanics that way, because it would be like spinning up this whole system thing and then like and then pausing it and then spinning it up again and pausing it. And it's when do things like Into the Breach, for Into the Breach, when you have like an environmental effect like fire or something, there's probably no examples of it in these screenshots, but like there's that distinct turn order. So like if something's gonna burn or whatever, like here a fire, that happens at the or right here. There actually is an example. This little dude is on fire. And this is gonna proc at like a final phase of the turn, which is like environmental damage turn, part phase of the turn. So for like for an FTL-like game, when do you process oxygen changes or fire propagation? Like, does the environment have its own turn? Does it proc for a period of time on everyone else's turn? So does like when one person takes a turn, the oxygen goes down a little. Another person takes a turn, the oxygen goes down a little. Like, you could do it that way, but it's awkward for sure. Theron Keen, Pausable has game flow. When things are going well, you can just let it run or interact while it's live. Yeah, I love that. I love that about Pausable real time, because it gives the player the choice about advancing the game. So events are processed simultaneously. Being pausable improves accessibility. Player is in control to pause or let it ride, or to pause or not. Or let it run. What you said. I like that a lot. Oh, we're not going to call these pros. We're just going to call these features. Bryson, cons, less pressure. I mean, which one has less pressure though? Pausable, real time, or turn based? So turn-based game, events are processed sequentially. I mean, there's some issues with simultaneous processing for sure, but we can handle that by just with system ordering. And maybe like a transaction system. You were saying the turn-based was less pressure? Yeah. I agree with that. Theron Keen, you think pausable has less pressure too? In turn-based, you're stuck with your decisions all the way through an enemy turn, for example. But a mistake can be interacted with mid-turn in pausable. That's true. That's true. Within a second, you'd say basically the same thing. Pausable real-time is less pressure because you're given the illusion of control. Yeah. Yeah, because it's not like, I mean, except for what Theron Keen was saying about how like you could potentially intercept a mistake in action mid-turn. Other than that, it's not like an action is less definitive in pausable real-time versus turn-based. I'm like reading through your responses to like try to extract features. So I guess like mistakes can be identified and corrected. That's kind of what you're saying. A feature of a turn-based game, to me, is like downtime during turn animations. I don't love the downtime during turn animations. I don't like having to wait. I wouldn't even say downtime. I'd say maybe like uninteractable. I don't know. That's not really a word. Blastoise, you think there are two possible routes with turn-based? Instant action inside your turn, like into the breach. Right, you attack with a mech and that mech's movement takes place, but your turn doesn't end. Right, right. Or you can give all orders and execute your turn. Either instant or gated action. Or gated turn resolution. I don't know if gated is the right word. Maybe like batched. You like Theron's Keen's comment about game flow too? Yeah, that's like you're in control to pause or let it run. So when things are running well, you can just let it run well. You can have a self-imposed no pause challenge mode. Kind of fun. Ron Keen, regarding turn-based, you spend a lot of time with Final Fantasy Tactics. Enemy turn stacking can destroy a run. Oh, yeah. If you're queuing all enemy, then all player, for example. Yeah. Timeline. Spread. I don't know. Timeline. Timeline games take longer to resolve turns, but prevent stacking, which may destroy absolutely destroy a run. Yeah, I think that's important. Like timelines games can take longer. Timeline style. Stacking of all enemy turns. Enemy turns. Destroying, which can destroy, which can be devastating. Devastating and game ending. Can't really see what I'm writing. Downtime is when you tab out to something else. I can't do that. Game or run ending. Theron, you mean even with like a speed stat for turn queue, you can end up with stacked enemy turns that feel horribly unfair, even if they're mechanically legit? No, that's true. But like, at least if you have a timeline style game that's based on initiative or something like that, there's at least a reason for it. You could totally be screwed by it, but like if it's the other system where it's like Into the Breach style, where it's all that's probably partly why Into the Breach is more of a puzzle game than a traditional turn-based tactics games, because like it's your job on your turn to resolve all or as many threats as possible. And then the enemy takes their turn and those threats are realized. And then it's your turn again, and you're like, it's very defensive, it's very reactive, the way Into the Breach works. Ron, you're not objectively opposed to turn-based. Your points are that your experience with problems in turn-based are the kinds of things that Possible Real-Time specifically built to address. Yeah, that's very true. Yeah. I mean, the awkwardness for me, here's the funny thing is like, I'm gonna mention one more thing for turn-based, which is like on large maps, disruptive camera jumping during unit selection or turn resolution when watching animations. I really don't love on this. really don't love the disruptive camera jumping. When you're either selecting a unit, like you're passing through and like next unit, or if you're watching the turn resolutions and it like jumps you somewhere and then does the resolution, then jumps you somewhere else and then does the resolution. That stuff drives me insane. Into the Breach handles it well though by completely telegraphing enemy upcoming turns. Yeah. Whereas in Final Fantasy Tactics are similar, you can only guess. The turn-based telegraphing might be a useful solution if you go that route. Yeah, I kind of wanted to do telegraphing. And I still think I think you can still do telegraphing to an extent. No, I guess you can't in Possible Real Time. People are just doing things. I'm going to write easier to telegraph enemy intentions. Like you can, I'm going to say actions. The activity, I don't know. It's hard to telegraph an enemy activity in a Possible Real-Time game, because like, what do? Do you like show where they're running? Do you like show an arrow of like they're gonna run here and then run there? It's like probably you're just gonna watch them run. Blastoise, what about cooldown? What can you do on your turn if you don't have to attack nor repair? Just pass infinitely. Oh, yeah. I was thinking about that. That's a really good point, Blastoise. I was thinking about that when I was thinking about how to adapt an FTL style game to a turn-based. That was exactly my thought. I was like, well, what if you're just chilling in the cockpit? Like, there's a bunch of, like, there's a bunch of crazy shit happening. Like, the NG is fighting two mantises in, like, the shield room. But, like, everyone else is just chilling on their station. What did they do? Do they just pass through their turn? Like, and if you've got someone already doing what you want, even if it's like activity, you could have like abilities or something. Like, that's a good point. That's a good point. So there's like awkward turn passing when already performing the desired activity. When a unit is yeah, that's super good point. Arndal, do you just stream whenever? Asking because if I see you streaming, you want to stop by. Yeah, hell yeah. We stream Tuesday to Saturday. So we stream. So we won't be streaming tomorrow or Monday, but we go Tuesday to Saturday. Usually around this time. We're usually streaming. I don't know what time zone you're in, but for Pacific time, we're usually streaming around. We usually start around 10:30 or 11, and we usually go until 2-ish. 1:30 to 2. Today we'll probably go a little late because I started late. I didn't start till like noon today, so we'll see. We'll probably go a bit. It depends on when our conversation peters out. Because I'm not going to do any programming or stuff today. We're just gonna have this design discussion, and then I think I'm gonna be happy with that, and it will give me some stuff to think about for when we come back next week. But yeah, that was a really good point, Blastoise. One flip side of that though is it's easier to model complex combat mechanics such as maybe not model, easier to coordinate complex combat mechanics such as unit abilities, discrete abilities. Turn-based games definitely have an easier time to do that because you're like, my turn, I'm going to do my pirouette followed by my bullseye followed by my tax evasion, like chain my abilities together. Smooth in a second. You could maybe have their planned path pop up on pause, kind of like Mechabellum. You hover over before the unit starts. Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point. I'm gonna say more difficult to telegraph enemy actions, but we could display on pause pathing, etc. Pathing on pause, or we could display their intent on pause. That's a good point. That's a good point. Blastoise. Like at this point, it would be like the Child of Light combat system where you can act when your attack is loaded or something. But you're talking about dynamically detecting when interaction would be required. Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna also say well, I mean, you could come up with all sorts of stuff. You could have like action chaining or things like that, where you could be like, go here and then do this and then do that. And you can do that in either a turn-based or a real-time game. Right now I'm trying to describe like the natural characteristics of the medium. I'm interested in the Child of Light. I want to like look up the Child of Light combat system, but I know I'm not going to find any videos on their Steam page showing off their combat system. You seem to know a lot about turn-based tactics games, Blastoise. kind of awesome because I think you came in and you were like mostly talking about FTL. Seem to be very aware of the cross section of things that are occurring to us. What is this? Is this like a? This is fascinating. Oh, this is an oldie. Looks beautiful. Is this different? Is this like a different? Oh no, here we go. Here's a combat system. Oh, this looks super cool. Do you like load up an attack and then you can do it? Show me some of the combat. Oh, so you load up an attack and then you have this waiting bar. And then there's this casting area. So you're waiting and waiting and waiting to do your attack. And then you can you like realize that your attack is going to take too long and then like change what you're doing or something? Or is it kind of just you pick your thing and then wait for it to resolve? This is gorgeous, by the way. What are all these drunk ravens? This is hilarious. And creepy, creepy critters here. That's super cool. The How to Train Your Dragon DS game has the same system. You don't think that one is easier to look up? No, I would imagine that one's even more difficult to look up. Easier to handle actions that take time. I mean, I don't know. I could describe this reality and I could use more words to describe this, but I think the simple thing to say is that in a possible real-time game, it's super easy to model an action that takes time. That's not just a discrete, like, you do this thing on one turn. It's like, it's easier to model an action that would take like 2 or 3 turns to resolve. I'm going to say process. Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, I'm already convinced of going back. I need to. Can I make more space here? Can I like hide the taskbar? Close. 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 Here we go. I want like people to be able to read what I've written. I guess I could just move myself over here. Yeah, that's better. All right. I'd like to flesh out. I mean, I provided myself more horizontal space to list the real-time stuff, so it makes sense that our list is like we have almost the same number of items, and it just took up less space to render it. I mean, events are processed simultaneously kind of captures all sorts of stuff. I think actually most of my issues about related to turn-based games can be boiled down to this simple fact that events are processed sequentially. That leads to downtime. It leads to needing to model either a timeline system or like a we go like a timeline like I go you go thing, or like a more simultaneous like we go thing. It's like on large maps there can be so many units that the camera needs to jump around and do all of this stuff. There are some definite major benefits, like telegraphing enemy activity, I think is huge. I think there was a good idea, Smooth, on how to, you could maybe display intent on pause. I think I would prefer that over FTLs, like you're just watching the little dudes run around, which I think an FTL is fine because they don't go very far. But on our ships, there's going to be a lot more space to maneuver in. So I think it matters a lot more. Yeah, turn passing was something I was thinking about as being super awkward, and I wasn't sure about how I would want to do that either. I do acknowledge it's easier to have like complex combat abilities, but I kind of don't like combat abilities. Like I've been playing Rogue Trader, and there's like all these different abilities, and you have to like keep track of them, and they show up and they're like stackable. So like you're like, how many stacks of this do I have, and what does it do? And like, okay, now I do this, and then like what? And like, I like much more smoothed out combat than that. I think I don't generally. I've been trying to play a lot of turn-based tactics games just to like get some experience. And classically, I've only really played like Into the Breach and like Invisible Ink and like a few others. I'm like certainly not a huge aficionado on all this stuff, but I think it's kind of embarrassing because like we started this game out and we were like, it's definitely real time because that's what FTL does. And then we like got into it for a while and we were like, maybe because of what we're doing, it's turn based. And now I'm like going back and I'm like, well, no, it should probably be real time for a number of reasons, both architectural and design wise. More intuitive, or how about background emergent properties such as oxygen, background propagation, more intuitive modeling of background propagation of properties like oxygen, etc. I think in a possible real-time game, it's really obvious what's happening. If like the oxygen is draining out of a room, then that's just happening. Although it is unfortunately more likely for events to pass without the player's notice, causing frustration, loss. I think that's an important thing too. I think that's an important thing to think about. Hey, Adagon, how's it going? We're having a little design discussion. I enjoyed watching your stream yesterday. You playing like Benjamin Halco's game and a bunch of others. That was cool. I like that not toddy, that Foddy like axe throwing thing. That was interesting. It seemed really long, but it was cool. Thanks for the hydrate. I haven't had any water. Blastoise, you talked about another FTL like before called Void Crew. Yeah, let me do that. Void Crew. Oh, I think someone just posted this in a Discord that I'm in. AKA Smooth. Yeah, that's the game you were talking about yesterday. Yeah. There's something wrong with their website. I don't know what's going on here, but it feels like there's something wrong with the with the way their website works. I'm gonna go to Steam instead. Yeah, I think we might have to play this. Smooth. Oh, it just came out, huh? Uh, Actually, I want the streamers react. Oh, you can't hear all the shouting that's happening, but there's a lot of shouting that's happening. That's cool. So there's like a gunner, there's like an engineer, there's like a pilot. I'm curious about how the engineer works. Are you like actually running around inside the ship? I haven't seen any. Oh, there it is. I was about to say, I was like, I haven't seen. Did someone just run out of the ship without a jetpack into space? Someone just jettison themselves into space? Okay, that person has like a jetpack chair. Yeah, this looks pretty sick. Yeah, this seems pretty cool. I mean, it's very different because it's multiplayer, like the opposite direction. But I'm definitely interested in this kind of stuff. I'm interested in their meta progression stuff about like how they present objectives and like all of this stuff. Probably less interested in the moment to moment. Super cool though. Lovers in a Dangerous Space Time, but 2D. Oh, but 3D. Yeah, exactly. I enjoyed Lovers in a Dangerous Space Time a lot. That was a good game. You think it uses the same system as the Shipbreakers game I played? Is probably as far as like 3D space navigation. I'm sure you can't just because Hard Space Shipbreakers has you can like literally cut ships up. Like they probably don't have that. Our game is gonna have that. Our game is gonna have destructible terrain. You're gonna be able to like blast stuff. Yeah, man, Lovers in a Dangerous Space Time. That was a good game. Yeah, like you're gonna be able to lose like walls on the side of your ship and like be like, well, there's a hole in the side of my ship and like maybe an emergency force field engages after a second, but like everything gets sucked out of the room first. I don't know. We're gonna do some fun stuff. I think this is a major issue that we're gonna need to address, and I think we were talking about how to potentially address it, but like problem with the pausable real time game is like if you can see everything that's happening, great. But even if you can't see everything that's happening, or even if you can see everything that's happening, sometimes like you still forget about stuff. Sometimes still something surprises you. Like maybe you don't get this character to the med bay in time. Or maybe a weapon blast hits a module and you're looking somewhere else and like and I guess that's just your fault because you didn't pause and deal with it. But I still think it's like a concern about how very possible it is for an event to pass without you noticing. But yeah, we definitely need systems in place to deal with that. I think it would be a cool idea for us to have like some kind of little pop up, even if it's really small and like in the corner, like next to like the character's portrait, depending on where we put character portraits. But maybe we'll have like a grid of character portraits or something, and like maybe like a warning sign can show up over their portrait, or like an all done thing, and they can be like, maybe they just have a little text window and they're like all set, and then you can double click on them and it'll take you to that part of the deck. Because I did say I don't like disruptive camera jumping, but people wouldn't have to use it. It would just maybe be a tool to help people like stay apprised of what's going on. Because we can't present everything all the time. Like that's just not an option for us because of our vertically stacked decks. Like there will always be hidden information, and it's not our intent, but kind of just a reality of what we're going for. I think this is a pretty reasonable list here. Is there anything we're missing out as far as like no output randomness, displays enemy intent, turn-based puzzle gameplay? That's Into the Breach. It's like a very reductive summation of Into the Breach. Versus Our Promise, which is like upgrade skills for ship systems or crew. Emergent elements like oxygen, fire, etc. Including power. Power distribution, I would say, is an emergent element. Like consequences of power distribution. Frantic pausable real-time gameplay. Here's some of the features of that. Maybe RimWorld style pawn icons, but with like health and O2 bars. Maybe. That could also maybe be like an on pause thing. No, I guess you wouldn't want that on pause. I don't know. I guess it depends on how much we want to lean into on pause. I feel like the way there's like two modes to this kind of game. Maybe I'm going to try to express this in text. There's like two modes to a pausable real-time game. There's pausing, which is like a time to reflect and plan and execute. And then there's like the unpaused mode, which is almost like a voyeuristic, like you're watching the outcome of your planning. Maybe more info pops up on pause. Yeah, we keep coming back to that, and I think that's not a bad idea. I think we're going to go into something like that. So, game really has two modes. On pause, you reflect, plan, and execute. I guess execute isn't the real word. You reflect and plan. You reflect on what's happening and plan your response. On play, you watch the execution and outcome of actions. So it's kind of like there's this loop. There's really two modes, and you kind of cycle between this loop. I'm gonna say it has like a dual mode game loop. A dual mode, a cyclic game loop. While on pause, you reflect on what's happening and plan your response. Then on play, you watch the execution and outcome of actions. Of the queued actions. Perhaps when really bad things happen, it auto pauses, like RimWorld again. That's also not a bad idea. Blastoise Pro, to the see everything problem, the different ship decks could maybe increase their vertical separation so you can see all the floors at the same time. Maybe only during pauses, even with a cool animation. We've thought about that. We've thought about the possibility of doing that. It's a great recommendation. It basically is like the exploded view. You do like an exploded view. I don't want to do that, but it's probably the right thing to do. It's definitely a different model that I think we're going to try if we can. It's a little tricky, but it's not that tricky because each vertical layer has its own set of tile maps. So we could honestly just move the tile maps away from each other when you scroll to different levels. We could just move them up and down, and we could maybe use that in combination with the visibility cutaway to improve your visibility. That's not a bad idea at all, actually. We kind of thought about it and then dismissed it and haven't thought about it again. But I think you're right. I think that would be a cool way to address some of those challenges. You think it would look very cool if you frame it as if pausing is entering tactical mode? Yeah, okay. So it would be like, if we have our block, we have our Borg ship, which is our test example. I mean, if we do that, we're definitely moving away from keeping everything on screen at once, but I think we're doing that anyway. I don't think we're going to very long have the idea that the whole ship is visible on screen. I think our ships are going to get bigger, especially later in the game. I don't think we're going to be able to do something like that. So right now, this is kind of how you see through. And so what would the benefit of that be? It would be really to just be able to see more of a single deck at once. You basically explode the view out. I'm thinking of a way to like just test that right now. And the way I would test that right now is I would basically say every level above the level that we're currently at, let's just move the position up like whatever, like one system or one layer. And then obviously we can like queen that or whatever. Let's see if we can do something like that just as a test, because I feel pretty happy with this features list we have. I don't want to totally get into like, I think separately we can look at this and establish the challenges, because we have a good set of challenges here regardless of which one we end up going with. I'm leaning pretty heavily into pausable real time today, but yesterday I was leaning heavily into turn based, so who knows what we'll be doing tomorrow. It's really unclear. But at the moment, I think this is better for architectural and design reasons. But I think you're onto something there. And let's see if we can like just hack that in real quick just to see what it looks like. So what we could do is when we do a pan viewer up or down, we could move this whole thing down. So instead of doing a modulation on the line layers, what we could do instead is like move tile maps. We could say func move tile maps, move tile map layers up or down. Say for index in range, area count. We need to store their default positions. Just temporarily for this purpose. Instead of block areas, we can also say like block, we could say like area positions. How am I going to get the position out of this thing? Doesn't think it's a node 2D right now. For child, I say as node 2D. What does get position give me back? Just nodes, right? Yeah, so I need to get them as a node 2D. 58, hello. I randomly came across the playlist and subbed to your channel. What framework or library are you using for this? Hey, 58. We're doing a couple things. We're using Godot. We're making this FTL-like in at 3D, this kind of isometric 3D FTL-like. We are primarily using Godot. It's a little more complicated than just that. We're using Godot for the UI and the rendering. And then for the simulation layer, we have a little entity component system that I wrote. Don't ask me why I wrote it in this language that I did. I don't have a good answer. But we wrote it in C#. So we have a separate simulation layer that is in C#. So we're not really using any, pre-made libraries, except Godot, obviously. But we kind of have our own little simple entity component system that's got, entities, components. It's got like dynamic buffers. So we can represent and process all of our simulation stuff as very lightweight objects. And then we basically send it back to Godot when it needs to be rendered. So right now we have a whole auto tiling system that's running on the simulation layer, and we're just sending the tile maps back to Godot. And then we're sending UI information from Godot over to this simulation layer. So we have a bit of a separate thing going on. So should I actually just wait and say block areas.append, and then I can say block areas. Because here it's just converting this to a node 2D, which is interesting. So what should I just say for area in block areas? No, I should say for index in range block areas dot size. How's it going, 58? Welcome in. Welcome to the channel. Appreciate you being here. We spent a lot of today just this stream. We've been mostly talking about some design stuff. We've been comparing kind of what our game promises as an FTL-like versus kind of what we've been presenting as kind of an isometric game, kind of like Into the Breach. And we've been kind of weighing up. So we kind of just looked at the differences, and we've kind of been weighing up the features of both. And I think we're pretty happy with that. So we kind of did that. And then right now we're trying a little trick. We're trying to explore the possibility. I'll show you kind of what we're doing. Hide this so I can run it. So we have this kind of 3D stacked decked. I keep trying to say stacked deck, and I keep end up saying stacked. That's weird. But we have these stacked decks. So like here's maybe the top deck. This is gonna look like just a board cube, but it's just like the maximum possible area we can render right now, or work in right now. So we can just make a bunch of rooms. I think I messed that up. There we go. And we have this area. So we're thinking about the visibility implications of this. And we're thinking about trying to do I messed this up. Like a cutaway, not a cutaway. We're thinking about maybe doing an exploded view where when you go up, pan up or down, it like moves the layers up and down to create more of an exploded view. I kind of butchered carving these walls here. Kind of hard to do. There we go. Right now we have this cutaway system that it makes it a little hard to see as far into the ship as I would like. So we're thinking about doing an exploded view, as I've said 2 or 3 times. And that should be pretty easy to prototype. So we're kind of messing with that right now. It's kind of a way to wrap up the stream, probably. So we could just go through and we just say area, position, index equals block areas, index dot position. It can be the local position. It doesn't really matter. We're just going to hack this in here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say move. What did I call it? Oh. Move tile map layers up or down. And so what we're going to do is we're going to move any tile map layers that are above the current highest one. How much are we going to move it by? Looks awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that 5.8. You do any game dev stuff? Always curious. For index and range, area count. I'm going to say if index is greater than, well, we're going to say less than. Index is less than highest. We flipped our Z axis recently, so a bunch of stuff is named poorly, in my opinion. So if the index is less than the highest visible area number, then we're going to say block areas dot position equals area position index plus, what's the difference between our different areas? So you're 0 minus 76, you're 0 minus 32, you're 0. So we're going to subtract vector 2. We're going to say minus vector 2 dot up. Vector 2 up a negative number in Godot? I feel like it is. Yeah, -1. So we want vector 2 up times 32. I don't find property position. Oh, index. Else. This is really hacky, but where it should let us try this out. Yeah, you do some project you're working on mostly for learning purposes. You're using SFML for graphics, C++. Okay, you're a real programmer. SFML library, C++. Simple and fast multimedia library. Provides a simple interface for handling multimedia components like graphics, audio, and networking. Oh, okay, cool. Have you tried anything like Odin? I know it's not C++, but I feel like that's been the hot thing right now for people that want like low level graphic stuff. Blastoise, please tell me your coordinate system is right-handed like a civilized person. I mean, I mean, now that I've flipped the z-axis, I don't actually know. Coordinate, it probably isn't anymore. But it's kind of a we kind of don't have a 3D coordinate system that's real because we're in a 2D engine, and our z index is just is our z axis is really just like an implied verticality that's not actually captured in the engine. So a right-handed is the z-axis points towards the viewer, and left-handed is the z-axis points away from the viewer. I mean, that's really not the z-axis for us. We're using a tile map system, so if you look here, we're using diamond down tile map, so y goes down and to the left, x goes down and to the left, and z now goes straight down. It used to go up, but now it goes straight down. So no? Maybe? I don't know. I'd have to evaluate it. All right, let's look at the right-hand roll. All right. So we're looking at the right-hand roll. I don't know how to interpret this. Oh, sorry for the flashbang. Oh, that's even worse. Look at it here. That's good. It's right-handed. Okay, okay. Thank you. Does that mean it was left-handed before? That's horrifying. Procedurally generated infinite world 2D Minecraft type game. Ooh, good luck to you. That's an interesting challenge. The vector product of x times y must equal to z. Oh, okay. That's a fun shorthand way of determining that. You heard a little about it, but you haven't tried it. Rycent, Godot's 3D is right-handed. Okay, are we using a similar system to Godot's 3D? If I kind of twist things around. Why? Oh yeah, it is. Okay, because it's the same as if you're going. Yeah, okay. Because yeah, we go. Y goes this way. Well, I can't demonstrate it on screen, but we demonstrated it, and Blastoise told me it was right-handed. I believe them. It was Y goes this way, X goes this way, Z goes down. That is apparently right-handed. Well, that's good to know. I feel like I'm going to need to do some things with that later. It did feel weird when it was the other way around, so maybe that's why. Oh well. Okay, well, I tried something. What we need to do is we need to add one more line of code. We need to add... So here, when we pan up or down, we need to move tile map layers up or down. And this is going to do something. It's going to do something. Oh, let's move this after this. Let's just say we're already storing this. Let's just use it. Crash. Valid assignment. Oh, I need to probably make... I need to make the array area, or I can just say append. Area position equals a new array. How do we construct a new array? I just want to construct it based on capacity. God, these are basically lists, aren't they? Do I just construct an empty one and then set the capacity? That feels so wrong. I guess we can just append. We don't actually need to do that. It just feels wrong. We just say area position dot append this. Top down, you're doing top down 2D 5.8. That's cool. All right. Try it again. Blastoise, you hate Unity because their 3D is left-handed. Maybe you should use Godot. Maybe you should. For many other reasons beyond that. I like Godot for its 2D support. All right, so... Okay, so this had the opposite effect of what I wanted. I'm not sure what's happening right now, but it's not what we want. It's creating a hole, but it's pushing things down. I want to push things up. Yeah, it's pushing things down below us. So this was correct, but this is not. I'm plussing, I'm minusing. I should be plussing. That sounded horrible to say. Adding or subtracting. Okay, there we go. Now it's pushing the layers above me up. It's a little disorienting, but it's maybe a direction we're interested in pursuing. Maybe not during build mode, but maybe during play mode. Maybe it's a little disorienting during... Oh, it plays nicely with our cutaway system, which is fascinating. Maybe there's something we can do with this. Maybe this isn't a terrible idea. Just takes the lid off of it. That's kind of awesome. While still leaving it there. I don't think I want to explode every layer, just like the layer above whatever layer we're actually on. Kind of fun. What if we increase the amount we jump by like a bit? I mean, it's not super noticeable at this scale because our ship is so small, but if we have bigger ships, like ships that basically take up the whole screen, I feel like this process is actually could be quite good. It'll be easier to tell what's happening because right now this is just a big gray box, so it's a little hard to tell how the layers are jumping around. Okay, the jumping is a little disorienting. Can we maybe modulate it? Maybe we tween it. Do we need to tween in we could do linear. What if we just make a tween and we do this? Tween should not be reused, so I should make a new one. The only other thing is killing the process. If like we want to jump, if we want to like keep going. I feel like that could be pretty cool. Do it sigmoidally. Okay. Is that an option? We have linear, sine, quint, quart, quad, expo, elastic, cubic, circ, bounce, back, spring. I don't usually use tweens, but it seems like a good way to hack it together for the moment. Do I say like interpolate value? Okay, so this is when I want tween to do the animating for me. It would basically be the same as global scope.lerp. That's not really what I want to do. We would set our property, position, tween property. Where's that? Tween property, property tweener. So we set our property, we set the value, the final value that we want, and we set the amount of time it takes us to get there. Cool. And I need to make a new one every time I do this. Probably a better way to do this, but it should be fine for now. Tween dot property, what is it? Tween property. Object would be block areas index. Property would be position. The final value, oh, we need to do that down here. This. Let's just say it takes like 1 second. This would just be area position. So that should animate the change over time, assuming I got that right. It might get messed up if we try to do it a bunch. Oh, look at that. It did it. It had some indexing issues with the line layer, but it did it. That's kind of fun. I kind of enjoy that. We just keep sending layers up as we go down. All right, now we need to send the layer back down. Oh, this is fun. This is a great idea, Blastoise. Put the lid back on it. Take the lid off it. It doesn't play super nicely with our cutaway system, but that's because our cutaway system is not tuned for this, but I think that's pretty awesome. I need to address the Z indexing issue I'm having with the outline. Because it's based on the Z layer of, I think it's trying to Y sort individual tiles, which is kind of an issue when the whole thing is moving. That's fun. It's behaving weirdly with our cursor selection. I need to like maybe set a different plane for how to handle cursor. Our cursor's jumping, which I don't love. Every time we go up, it jumps the cursor interpretation to the next level, which is like important. But I almost want to jump the cursor when I'm doing these changes. I almost want the cursor to jump up to the equivalent position on the next layer. But maybe not. Oh, it actually handles doing them all in a row pretty well. That's actually pretty elegant. I didn't think it would be able to handle doing them all like that. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I think we like this. I think we're keeping this. We just need to make it work well with the cutaway system. You think for the building phase, it's staying where it should be would be nicer? Oh, you're talking about the mouse cursor. Yeah, for the building phase for sure. I think for playing, we'll have a slightly different control scheme. We also want this to work with like joysticks and stuff. Yeah, I enjoy this a lot. I just enjoy playing with this. I actually think we don't need... What if we just turn the line layers off? I actually think the reason I had the line layers was so you could tell what layer you're on. Oh, Jesus. Okay, maybe we do need the line layers sometimes. Yeah, because you can't tell. Maybe you only need the line layer for the layer that you're actually building on. Yeah, this is pretty disorienting to not have the line layers. Selecting versus building mouse modes. Yeah. Well, we know what game state we're in. We know when we're in an editing state versus a play state, and there's a bunch of stuff that's going to change between the two, obviously. So having the mouse cursor work in two different modes, I don't love that. Yeah, so like if I'm here and then I jump to the next lever, I'd like the cursor to just like follow along this position. I want the cursor, I think, to be tied to the world space, and the mouse cursor is like related to it, but it can be taken over. I don't know. People might hate that. People will probably hate having the mouse cursor taken away from them. But I think the joystick people would like it a lot more. So I don't know. I have to think about that. I might just have it this way for mouse and a different way for joystick. I think for joystick, people don't mind if the cursor area is like jumping around on them. Because you don't have the same. Here I have like a mental map of like where the mouse is. And if that mental map is broken by the game, that's like a pretty bad. It's pretty bad. But for it, I don't think for a joystick you have the same expectation. This is fun. This is cool. I'm very pleased with this. I have to address the fact that the palette object is like below everything. The UI should be like above everything. Give the UI like an insanely high Z index. I gotta turn the line layer back on. I actually can't see what I'm doing. We could have it so that the line layer only shows. So what if we did this instead? So what if the line layer modulation worked like this? Instead of using relative distance, let's just have it turn off. If Blastoise for play mode, the layers could react to your mouse position such that the layer closer to your mouse are more separated, allowing you to look where you want just by moving the mouse. No, that's a good idea. I don't know how the cursor works now, but it should be a raycast or something, so it plays well with the moving decks. It is. It's basically so it basically maps itself to the tile maps, and it maps itself to the tile map that you're currently on. So like as you move across tile map, it maps your coordinate to a different position because they're like stacked. So yeah, it is basically a raycast because it's just taking the global position of your mouse and then mapping it onto whichever active tile map layer you're currently on. But yeah, it could totally move not just up or down, but it could move like away. So it could move up and away, and it could be like you're saying, the layers that are closer to the layer that you're on, they move up and away further, and then the other ones just move a bit. Yeah, we could have some X X and Y stuff as well. I might try that next. That actually sounds really good. So for this though, what I want to do here is I want to just say if index is less than highest visible area number, then block areas index dot modulate dot a equal to 0. Else block areas index dot modulate dot a is equal to 1. So now it's just going to be either visible or invisible. Might like that better. Blastoise, yeah, but your idea would require to do away with the idea of having an active layer. Oh, because the layer is moving. So it would be almost like, it would be like a raycast. And so whatever layer you hit. Yeah, that's a good idea. We probably want to switch to something like that. Oh, I actually want these layers, these things to just go with the other one. So I actually want to I actually want to get rid of the modulate. So yeah, we're not modulating. I want to get rid of the modulate for now. And instead, I would like to just do the same thing here. Yeah, that's a good idea. We might do that. Do we call this something else? Oh, I need to declare area position. Variable area position. An array of vector 2. So now the line layers should move. I actually want to re-enable the modulation. But not this one. Oh, no, I actually have to still do it though. Oh, I am? Okay, so now the whole thing moves, including the line layer. Yeah, that could be interesting, having it be a raycast instead of just mapping it to oh, we're having a little chop now that we're trying to do it 8 times instead of 4 times. Super cool. Yeah, I think it would be cool if they went up and away from the mouse. They obviously take too long to move as well, but I thought that was fun. I really just need to put the line layers as part of the onto one. I need to combine the line layers with the block volume. Unnecessary for them to be separate. That's super cool though. I really dig that. Ryson, did reverting your graphics driver fix the rendering issues you were having yesterday? Yes, they did. Because I reverted it and they're gone now and I didn't even notice. Now I'm really sending them away. This is probably kind of better than what we were doing. You can't really see like what layer you're on in terms of compared to the other ones, but something like this is kind of fun. Now you can actually see the layer that you're on. Now it like fully moves out of the way. So we could actually stop doing the higher level stuff. I don't know. I don't know if I want to do just this or if I want to do like a mix. Like a mix of both. But I think it would be cool if its X position moved relative to where your mouse was. Like if they kind of moved over to the left or the right, depending on where you were. And so they move up and out of the way. Right now they're just moving up. Ryson, you foresee difficulties raycasting a layer since they mostly overlap each other when you have them filled out. You'll have to click the front edges of each layer to pick it at first. I mean, it's in case there's like a I mean, it'll be trivial to tell which layer is in front of the other layer. The only problem is that the layer kind of extends indefinitely in each direction, so we would just need like... It'd be kind of how you handle selection. Like, everyone in the line of the raycast would be detected, and then you would just need to sort them. I don't know. You would need a mix, I guess. I don't know. I don't know if we actually need the raycast, but maybe it would work. Maybe it would help. Well, what I've got right now is okay. You basically can't... I mean, you can try to mouse over as it's coming down. Like you can actually interact with these while they're moving, which is kind of hilarious. Oh, well, you can't when they go up, because if they're moving up and away from you, the thing's already like, you're on the next layer down. But here I can move it. I can mess with this layer as it's coming down. I can't mess with it as it's going up. So that's what the raycast thing would be for. I don't know. It's an interesting question. Yeah, when you go down, it's very intuitive. It also, I understand more why, like what is happening to my cursor when I do this. And I kind of like that. We don't really need all the other crazy stuff that's going on. I don't know. This is really interesting. Very curious about this. We'll keep exploring it. Pretty cool idea. Well, that was fun. We had a good design discussion on the various features of a possible real-time game or a turn-based game. We prototyped a really awesome alternative to our visibility cutaway system. Also great. Yeah, this was really cool. This was a great stream. I'll probably wrap it up soon because it's Saturday and I'd kind of like to go just do Saturday things a bit. But Blastoise Pro, thanks for hanging out like literally the entire stream. Sorry I banned you. Thanks for coming back. Ryson 5'8". Smooth in a second. Atagon. Marindal, it was nice to meet you. Theron Keen, it was cool. It's always cool to catch you. Anyone else I missed? Scotty Flops, way back. Really appreciate everyone hopping in here, hanging out with us, philosophizing. Probably gonna go grab some lunch, hang out, and play some games. But this has been a great day, great stream. I'm gonna keep the music. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.